Hi again. Welcome into another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. On this week's program, housing going up, universities moving in, things are happening in Barrie. Mayor Alex Nuttall joins us with an update and what it means for the city. Barrie Families Unite is on a mission to open its own thrift store to better serve families in need and give them dignified access to essential items. Empower Simcoe has launched a survey to find out more about unpaid caregivers, family and friends who take the lead in caring for those facing challenges, everything from physical to mental to aging and more. Turns out these unsung heroes are facing challenges themselves. And how about those Barrie Colts? Went 2 for 3 last weekend. An update is on the way. We get the conversation started after this. Big doings in Barrie, new shovels in the ground for housing, a deal with Lakehead University. Barrie 360's Ian MacLennan explores the possibilities they bring with Mayor Alex Nuttall.
Cranes in the air. In the area of Grove and Bayfield Street, the Skyline Project was unveiled, or at least launched. What is the Skyline Project?
So this is about just under 1,000 units that are going on the old YMCA site. One of the beautiful things about this project is that there's going to be affordable housing included inside of it, right inside the first phase. The total first phase is somewhere in the neighborhood of about 550 units. About 36 of those will be affordable, and the goal is to get to 10% of the total rental units on site being affordable.
Some are saying, yeah, it's fantastic. Others are saying, doesn't seem like a lot. And I know when we were chatting earlier, you said affordable housing, built by market doesn't make sense, a business sense. So what did you mean by that? Because people just expect it to be there.
Yeah, I mean, when you are out there as a builder or developer or whatever in the construction industry, the reality is that the cost of affordable housing and the return, they just don't make sense. And so banks won't even help fund them. The result is that in this project, the City of Barrie stepped up with our community improvement plan. We made a contribution to this project to ensure there are affordable housing units. And I just remind people, we aren't looking to solve in just one project. In fact, if you look at good planning and having grown up in, affordable housing and rent-geared income housing, I think it's a goal that you don't have it all in one place all the time. You want to be able to have that relationship between those who are living in rent-geared income or living in affordable units with the rest of market. It's good social policy and certainly good for the young people that are growing up in that type of situation. So 32 units here, or 36, and then we have an additional over at Rose Street. There's about 230, and that's just across Bayfield Street. We've got the Coral development that added another 44, and all of a sudden you're into hundreds of units of affordable housing that are being built just in those 3 projects, all within 500 or 600 meters of each other.
No, I think it was 6.7 million.
Yes.
So a community improvement plan, for people who aren't familiar, what is that?
Well, the community improvement plan is put together through the funds that we receive from the feds and the province, as well as some leftover funds that we had from some previous policies for development, where developers would make contributions to the city for the social fabrics, things that are going to support and help the city grow in a responsible manner. And affordable housing, obviously, today is top of mind in that area. So the community improvement plan is something that's run by members of our public service, and they receive requests from market to help make affordable housing, or perhaps it's job related in some of the previous cases, and really make that business case make sense so that we can get affordable units to market, so that we can get some rent-geared income in partnership with the county. And so it is a tool that's used by our public servants to try to facilitate some affordable housing and other things.
Are there any other incentives out there that other levels of government need to do or should step up to get more affordable housing? If you say, the banks won't even look at it?
Well, I think what they're doing with CMHC is the right direction if you're looking for more rental stock. I mean, the reality is that it is going to take a very long time to catch up on decades of not having affordable housing and rent geared to income built and not having attainable housing in terms of purchasing in this market. So, I think that the direction is correct in terms of what CMHC is doing to help builders build affordable housing. The other piece to that is, the waiving of GST on rental product by the feds. I think that has had a positive effect on market. That's what I'm hearing back from individuals who are looking at building rental units. So there are some positive things, but you just can't flip the switch and it's on, right? These things take often 18 to 24 months to build out, and until you have those units live, it's going to continue to be a struggle.
Now, you talked before, you did when you were campaigning about intensification of along highways, transit hub, and the downtown. Is the Skyline project an example of that?
Yes. Yeah, I think that what I don't want to see is neighborhoods flipped upside down, right? In the sense that somebody buys the house, they are putting their life savings into it. They're paying a mortgage for 25 or 30 years. It becomes the biggest thing that they have. And then somebody says, next door we're going to build a 20-story or 30-story building. And certainly that's going to happen in some places, right? So we have to figure out where we want that intensification to take place. And so that's when I was running, I said, I want to see it around the 400. You get easy access to the highway. Oftentimes around the 400, you have good transit available, and usually stores and shops and things that support housing. So this is an example. Skydev over at Bayfield Street is an example. The Rose Street intensification at the 400 as well is an example. The Sperling Drive rezoning that we did on the old police station is another example of that policy coming into fruition.
Well, speaking of the downtown, you had the announcement last week about Lakehead University that will be setting up shop in what is now the Barrie bus terminal, 2026, I believe. Tell us about that project, how that came to fruition.
Well, this is a really neat one because we had been wanting for, a very long time, 15 or 20 or maybe even 25 years to attract a university to Barrie, and especially in our downtown. I think there's something very unique about campuses in city cores. It really helps make it a better place to live and attracts a lot of business investment around it. And so when I was elected, before I was sworn into office, we hired up a couple of staff members, and one's goal was to get the office up and running, and the second individual I asked to cold call universities and colleges. And he was able to get a number of universities interested in coming to downtown Barrie. And through that, we eventually got to the point where Lakehead was the right partner, it's the appropriate partner for a number of reasons. Like, they're already set up in Aurelia. There's an infrastructure in place.
They
know the city of Barrie
too,
because of they know the city of Barrie because of their partnership with Georgian. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that make sense about it being Lakehead. The idea was something that was very loose. What Lakehead has been able to do is come in and say, this is where we think the investment needs to take place from a university perspective, and it's in a STEM hub. And that's just really exciting news. Like, this is training individuals, not just for the jobs of today, but for the jobs of tomorrow. And I know that just sounds like another saying, but it's not. Like, these are the engineering degrees that we would want that are being requested by market in order to help grow businesses right here in Barrie.
What did the city give Lakehead in return in terms of the current bus terminal? Is there an incentive there, or who's paying for that?
Yeah, so what we're doing is we're providing an incentive to Lakehead in the sense that their capital costs and some operating costs to get set up are going to be covered by the city of Barrie. And when you look back, traditionally in 2011, the previous administration committed $14 million to get Laurentian to set up a campus here. If you add inflation over that period, you're somewhere in the neighborhood of it being worth about $21 to $22 million today, based on that $14 million from 13, 14 years ago. And what we've managed to do is deliver this university with about $9.5 million of investment needed over a 5 to 6 year timeline. So I think that it's a a prudent investment, one that's going to support businesses, one that's going to allow for a lot of young people to be able to seek higher education without having the cost of leaving town. Yeah.
And that location, can they grow upon that? And, I mean, because I know there are other options, aren't there, for that terminal, possibly?
Well, I mean, there's been, I would say there's been requests over the years for the terminal. But if you look at what's there right now, you've got the sandbox. We know the provincial government has committed to having a regional innovation center, which is going to have some sort of connection with the sandbox. And then you have Georgian College moving downtown. You now have Lakehead moving in. The idea that the Henry Bernick Center and all of these different university and college programs can also work with the Regional Innovation Center, the Sandbox. Like, this is what we've been talking about in terms of building that environment where businesses can come and they can grow, where young people and entrepreneurs can go and learn from each other and get the right talented people around them and be successful. And so I think this is the right place for now. Obviously, it's not one that can house them forever, because as they grow, there's going to be needs that are greater than just the bus station.
Any idea number of students or how that?
It'll be in the hundreds at first.
Because there were comments. I mean, I understand it's not going to be Georgian College, but in terms of housing, and that was raised too. But maybe a lot of the kids will be locally.
Well, hold on. The provincial government also gave us $1 million to incentivize student housing. So, this is something that's really taken a good turn, I think, in the last 6 months, in the sense that Lakehead's been able to come forward and say, this is exactly what we're going to do. Our business community is incredibly excited about that. Our young people who want to go into engineering degrees and computer software and computer programming and mechatronics and all are incredibly excited. And the provincial government came and said, you know what, we're going to help by making sure that you can have housing available for students downtown. So this has all come together in a very, very good way. The idea that we should stack all of the students into one area of the city over in Ward 1 is not one I subscribe to. I mean, one of the things that you saw at our announcement last Thursday was that I committed to changing our zoning and our not our zoning, our property standards, right, and our bylaw to proactive, which we did. And that was a request out of Ward 1, where we were facing, large issues because of such a large student population in such a concentrated area. And so I think that overall we're going to be able to work through any issues that arise. But landing a university into our city center, into our downtown, has been a target of every council for the last 20 years. And we've done it. And we've done it at far less cost than the previous administrations had committed to do it.
And somebody did comment, going back to the days when Barrie Central Collegiate, unfortunately, had to shut down, that, oh no, there goes that, even though it was secondary, oh, there goes that educational sector out of the downtown, and now I guess it's back.
Well, it is, and I think that it was back when Georgian College said, right, we're going to move downtown. This isn't, just a one-off. We need to have a complete strategy for learning, for downtown, for how to make it an inviting place for residents in the area and for businesses to want to go. And this is another step in the right direction, building on what was already announced by Georgian College. And I think that you'll see with a number of announcements coming down the line that there is an attraction to downtown Barrie by government, by business, certainly by educational institutions. And we need to do our part to make sure it is that inviting, welcoming, safe place. But from what I can see right now, there's a bright future ahead for downtown.
This is what Barrie's talking about from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely, joined by Nikki Glenn, Executive Director and founder of Barrie Families Unite. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Dan. Thank you for having me.
You have been helping Barrie families since the pandemic, and it's taken on different machinations since then. Did you think when you started Barrie Families Unite that this was just going to be a temporary thing through the pandemic?
I'm not sure I thought it through, to be honest, but machinations, I'm going to use that word. It has taken many evolutions and twists and turns along the way, and I'm excited to talk about the latest and greatest one with you today.
All right, so let's talk about it. It's Doors to Dignity. It's a new campaign. You fill us in.
Yeah, so we had the pleasure last Thursday at the Sandbox facility in downtown Barrie to publicly announce our launch of a seed funding campaign we're calling Doors to Dignity. And what we're looking to do, our goal is to raise $500,000 over the next 10 months in an effort to be able to open a social enterprise thrift store here in our community to service the community at large, but also to be able to provide low cost or no cost services, essential needs services to our low income households. What we've learned in this last stretch of time is the current model that we've set up, our fulfillment style warehouse, it's not sustainable long term, especially with the needs rising at the rates that they're rising. So a fulfillment style warehouse means that our volunteers themselves are picking orders every day, 6 days a week, and delivering them to our clientele. And picking orders for a family of even 4, when everyone needs clothing from head to foot, that can take one person an hour to do properly. And then at the back end, do we know, did those clothes fit? Was there waste involved in that? So this new model of opening a social enterprise thrift store really checks off a whole bunch of positive boxes in our minds. First and foremost being that it provides our clients with the ability to self-fulfill, and that gives them a sense of dignity and empowerment. They can do that at their time, in their time frame, when they need the items. The vision we have for our clients that will be using the thrift store is that they will have been onboarded and have a loyalty card that they can tap that will be loaded with a certain amount of money depending on their level of need. And so that will allow them to shop alongside our paying customers who are going to be helping us keep the doors afloat, open and afloat. And nobody needs to know the difference between one or the other. So that really also brings that sense of community back into kind of where we started, community caring for community. Yeah, we're very excited about this next evolution, but we do need the public support. It's a one-time seed funding campaign to help us get the space, flip the space into a retail store. So leasehold improvements are probably going to be the vast majority of those funds, and give us a few months buffer of operational expenses so that we can open the doors, get our feet under us, not have to be stressed about, covering all the monthly expenses that come with opening a big venture like that. And we'll be on our way to self-sufficiency for the long term.
Do you have any corporate sponsorship at this point, or are you looking for that too?
We're looking for that too. Our team's busy right now building that funnel of potential people to speak with and approach. We're also writing grants, hoping that some of that funding might come through grant applications we might be successful with. But we feel we can do it. We know this community is generous. We know this community fundraise large amounts for other charities on a yearly basis. We just really need this one time. We need this one-time support from our community to help us be able to offer this service for the long term. It also does some other things for us, practical, under the practical nature of our business. We currently move out of our facility every year because we co-share with Christmas Cheer. So it'll give us a permanent home. So it eliminates that stressor and headache for us and our clients and our volunteers having to move in and out every year. And it will hopefully also provide us that financial stability. So we're not fundraising and scurrying around with, smallish fundraisers every month to just keep our operation expenses covered.
So what do you do when you have to make way for Christmas Cheer every year? Where do you go?
Oh, we get creative.
I bet you do.
This is our 4th year moving out, and we've been in 4 different places. So this year we are pretty pleased and happy to be co-sharing space with Redwood Park Communities in their furniture bank space. So we're there for 3 months, and then then we'll be looking to move back to the space that Christmas Cheer will have emptied out after they've done their tremendous work in our community. That's been an amazing collaboration for us as well. But this is no secret because we have shared this with them. We're hoping this is our last stretch next year with them, and we'll be aiming to move into our forever home sometime in early summer and opening our doors sometime midsummer.
Give us a sense of how many people you're helping. You talked about clients, so you've got a client list. How many people are on that? Any notion?
The number grows. I can tell you right now, the number of agencies that are using us, our services, is at 26. So You name me an agency in Barrie, and they're probably processing requests for their clients through us for winter outerwear, start-over kits for linens and kitchen items, grocery gap support for fresh produce, you name it. I know that our running tally since incorporating in 2021 is over $1.4 million in essential needs and value that we've distributed in those 3 and a bit years. So I don't have a client number at the top of my head, but
it's lots.
It's in the thousands. Yeah,
it's a lot.
Yeah,
because the need is great. And as much as you're raising funds for this forever home, and you've alluded to it here anyway, you're still helping people now through temporary facilities as it is. But you're collecting items, you're doing fundraising, you're still helping people in the meantime. So how can people help with that, in addition to jumping on board with Doors to Dignity?
We're not slowing down on our current mandate, which is, doing the fulfillment style support of essential needs. So we're always welcoming financial donations for that, but also people, if they're looking for a community-friendly place to donate their gently used linens, clothing, footwear, pots and pans, dishes, we will always gladly accept them. The best way to find us, we don't put our address on our website because we are moving during this time of year, but you can find our contact us information, flip us a quick email. We answer them within the hour, and we'll give you the details on how to find us and how you can donate those items to us.
And you mentioned some items. Do you take furniture items as well, or is your space a problem for that?
Yeah, no, we kind of draw the line at furniture because we do have a furniture bank in Barrie. So we would, when people ask that question, we refer them to Redwood Furniture Bank that we're co-sharing space with. So we're getting to know a lot about their model and their business. But we say up to and including countertop appliances when it comes to kitchenware. So we will accept things as large as microwaves, toaster ovens, hot plates. Those things get a lot of requests when people are moving into rooming houses, rooms and rooming houses, and starting, afresh. Those are great things to have. So
okay, website address and a phone number if people need to get a hold of you or want to get a hold of you and want to jump in on this.
Yeah, our website is barriefamiliesunite.com. And our phone number is 705-300-5515.
Nikki, thanks so much for all the great work you're doing. Continued success to you. Let us know how we can help out with this and anything else you've got coming along, because as you've alluded to, the need is great, and you're one of many organizations trying to help out.
Thank you so much for having us and helping us spread the word.
What Barrie's Talking About is a weekly podcast featuring the best Barrie and Simcoe County have to offer and more. You can get caught up and make it easy to keep up in the future by subscribing to What Barrie's Talking About through any podcast distributor. Still to come on What Barrie's Talking About, a Barrie Colts update and taking the pulse of unpaid caregivers. Now this.
Our community rocks.
It's a well-known fact blood transfusion saves lives. It's also a well-known fact that the world relies on voluntary unpaid donations to fill the need for blood. The need for blood never ends. Canadian Blood Services in Barrie is calling on you to help save a life. Please consider donating today. Appointments are mandatory and must be booked in advance. Book today at blood.ca through the Give Blood app or by calling 1-888-2-DONATE.
Barrie's Rock Station, Rock 95.
This is What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. Unpaid caregivers, unsung heroes, family members, friends, and others who step up to provide essential daily care for those who need it. Empower Simcoe wants to learn more about them through a survey being conducted until December 6th. Here again is Ian MacLennan with Empower Simcoe CEO Dr. Claudine Cousins.
Most people would be familiar with the organization, but just briefly a bit of background of what your organization does in the community.
Empower Simcoe has been around for 70 years, and we provide supports and services for people with intellectual disabilities and for people without a disability. We provide supports in housing, in employment, in community participation, and by that I mean help individuals with disabilities learn to navigate their community. We also have group homes. We have over 43 group homes in Simcoe County, and it's some supported independent living programs. So if If you want to live on your own, but you need a little bit of support, we're there to help you do that as well.
Now, Empower Simcoe has partnered with Georgian College, a new research project to assess the needs of unpaid caregivers in Simcoe County. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the project, what is an unpaid caregiver?
That's you. That's me. It's our friends. It's our neighbors. Unpaid caregivers are individuals who provide supports for not only individuals who have a disability living at home, but for our grandma, for our auntie, for our brothers or sisters, for individuals needing support or help to live a good life. So we do it, honestly, we do it with a good heart. We do it sometimes because we have to, but we do it because there's no one else there. And sometimes we do it because we are looking after someone who needs us more than, than we need them.
So tell us about the research project, and also does it tie in with the fact, because when you are a caregiver, whether you're looking after someone who's got an intellectual disability, maybe it's Alzheimer's disease or what have you, the strain, not just financial, but just mental. So I'm wondering, is there a component there about this project? Yeah,
absolutely. So at Empower Simcoe, we have a program called Respite, and for the full term is a family relief program that includes respite care. It also includes a matching program where if you are at home and you're looking for someone to help provide some respite or a break, we can help match you up with someone who's qualified to do that. So the program itself is based on our ability to improve caregiver wellness. It's based on building resiliency in those caregivers. It's also based on strengthening connections in community, because when you're looking after someone at home, sometimes you're isolated. You don't know what's going on in the community, where you can turn for help. So that's one of the reasons as well. And it's also to strengthen family relationships. To your point, the strain of being a caregiver can grow exponentially. So if you are the one person who has a job outside the home, you're the caregiver, you're the breadwinner, you're looking after everything. After a while, that becomes a little too much. So one of the things that we're looking at is how can we help through respite, or what others call it, short breaks, allow caregivers to really step away from their everyday caregiving and take time for themselves, because the mental strain is there as well as the physical strain.
And how do you gather that information from both those that are caregivers and agencies that do provide services? Or?
Well, right now, we, as a deliverer of services, think we know what people want, right? Mm-hmm. We all do that. We all think, I'm going to put out a service because I think people know this. But for us, what we're looking at doing is to do a assessment within the community. We want to ask caregivers, what do you need? How do you connect? What are the relationships that are important? How can we as a deliverer of services provide the services in the way that makes it easier for you to get the break that you need? So we're doing an assessment, and we have done that in two ways. We're looking at what the caregivers can tell us, and also what other deliverer of services can tell us. So not just Empower Simcoe, but other deliverers within the community.
And you do have a survey online?
Yes, we do. So we've partnered with Georgian College. Georgian College has been a partner for us in a number of initiatives. They have really not just talented, but very skilled individuals in different departments that can assist all organizations in whatever businesses that they're trying to do. So we've partnered with Georgian College to take a look at putting the survey together, doing a bit of a literature review. What's the literature telling us about caregiving and what the needs are? And then to create a survey that can ask both the caregivers and agencies who deliver services a number of questions. So what we're looking at is trying to bridge the gap between what we deliver and what we need to deliver. So we're asking questions about, what's the relationship like between you and the deliverer of service? What's the access of that service like? Is it hard? Is it easy to get to that caregiver? Is it easy to get to that deliverer of service? That's one of the things we need to know. We also want to find out whether there are better ways for us to offer support to them, and what does that look like? So we're asking all those types of questions, and the research group is from the, and I have to get this right, the big data, they call it the big data department within Georgian College, and it is one of the areas that will provide analytics and review of whatever it is that we find through the surveys. And we have 2 students who are going to be doing this project, and they've helped to write the survey along with their professor, and we're going to push this out, and it's going to be on our website.
When you get all those numbers and all those answers, you want to improve things. What's the method there? Because some people might say, well, it might happen, but it may not see the light of day in my time. And too much that, the cynicism, well, that's great, you did the survey. I'm not saying you're going to, but it, it sits on a shelf. So where does it go from there?
Yes, well, we're committed to using the information. We are not just doing it for the sake of doing it. So Empower Simcoe is very focused on quality improvement. And this is one of the ways we look at making sure that our programs doing what they're supposed to do is by doing a review of that program. So the goal for the research is to assist in program planning for the future and service delivery. That's 2 things. Also to bring awareness to caregiver needs and services that are within the community and that are not within the community. So how do we make others aware of this? And then also to allow collaboration between Empower Simcoe and maybe there's another provider out there that we need to collaborate with. We have been doing a lot of collaboration within our province, nationally and internationally, with a number of other caregiver organizations. We know that the only way for us to shed light on caregiver needs is to elevate it to people's consciousness. There are so many caregivers out there, and we don't really think about it from that perspective. We just think about it, I'm looking after grandma, or I'm looking after my son who has intellectual disability. But you are providing caregiving services, and how do we recognize that? One of the things that we've learned, and this is something that has been spoken about through some research that's been done, that says that if we were to remove caregivers from our economy, from our society, that our social system would collapse before noon. Like, that is something that is really telling when you think about how much we take it for granted. We don't think about it, we don't pay them, so we expect it. We expect this to happen, and we don't think that if we were to pull that caregiver from that home, who's going to look after that person? They're going to end up in a hospital. They're going to end up in another part of our system where the costs are much higher and the system will collapse.
Very quickly, a caregiver might say, well, of course I'm doing this. It's because it's a loved one or something. Like I don't, almost like they feel guilty if they would take a break.
And they do. Your point is well taken. Yes, absolutely. It's your grandma. You're going to take care of your grandma. But you know what? The choice to do something is still your choice. And a lot of caregivers make the choice to do it, but there are a lot who makes the choice not to do it. So yeah, absolutely, it's the right thing to do. But there still needs to be some recognition and appreciation for how much it is costing those individuals. Yes, it may be their son, it may be their grandmother, it may be whoever it is. But as a society that values all of us, we think about what are the social impacts, what are the determinants of health that are impacted by someone who, yes, they're doing it because they know they should do it, but then they get burnt out or their health physically and mentally gets impacted. So now they're accessing another part of our system, which is the healthcare system, which we know is already burdened. So how do we make sure that we can provide the supports where it's needed as a preventative so that we don't end up in a place where we're looking for a cure?
And if people want more information about the survey and Empower Simcoe,
you can go to our Empower Simcoe website. You can get information there, and it's through the Family Relief admin at empowersimcoe.ca. And you can also call our phone number, and it is 705-726-9082, extension 2259.
Let's empower those caregivers out there.
Absolutely.
The Barrie Colts went 2 for 3 last weekend. They remain first in the Central Division and second only to Kingston in the Eastern Conference. Barrie 360's Will Conkin takes a look back and a look forward with Colts writer and broadcaster Gene Pereira.
Gene, another solid stretch for the Colts. Even though their Western road trip started with a 2-1 loss to the Windsor Spitfires, they then picked up a 3-2 win over the Flint Firebirds and defeated the Sarnia Sting 5-2. Before getting into the nitty-gritty of things, I asked you last week about the importance of these trips. Days on the road, overall fatigue, the camaraderie and togetherness of the team. So how do you think they fared? A stat to know is they are 9-4 on the road.
Yeah, they've been pretty solid on the road this season. But I think, that 2-1 loss at Windsor, there's some disappointment there. Maybe not one of their best games, especially 5-on-5, as head coach Marty Williamson mentioned, that they just didn't seem to have a lot of life, especially offensively, not a lot of push in that game. And, they come out with a disappointing 2-1 loss. But they bounce back and, they do the job the rest of the weekend. But, it's definitely one of those games that had they started off, they had a chance for a really good weekend. And I think it's one of those games that they know they could have played better.
In the Flint game, you said that Tristan Bertucci, he made his return to Flint for the first time since being traded to the Colts. You were saying it was an emotional night for him.
Yeah, I think it, always goes back where you played your career. And, for Tristan, he wanted to move, closer to home, and Flint accommodated in that, and they gave him a nice little tribute there. And it's always special going back, and you talk to these players. It's always a little bit weird going to the visitors' dressing room and kind of being a visitor coming to a bar, a place that you called home for a few years. But make no mistake that when a lot of these players, when they come home, they want to win those games, and their teammates want to win it for them. So Barrie gets an important win in Flint. They battled back, and just as well too, they give Bertucci a win in his return.
Evan Passmore returned from a 5-game suspension. He chipped in a goal and an assist in the Sarnia game. I think I asked you last time about another Colt, but did you see that happening too?
Yeah, again, Passmore's just been one of those steady guys. He's a defenseman. Offense isn't really his game, but we've seen a little bit more of it. His ability to step up. He set up the first goal in this one, and got a goal later on, and a big return for the big defenseman. But Justin Hansler played really well in his absence. But there's make no mistake, getting Passmore back, a guy who lost a lot of minutes as well on the penalty kill, and just that big frame back there, that physical force that he can be. It's a big return. The Colts also got Jaden Newton back the game before, and then Bodie Stewart returned. So, getting some bodies back in the line. But make no mistake, that Passmore, an important part of a blue line. And again, we talk about how well Barrie has been defensively, keeping the puck in the net, and Passmore is a big part of that.
You were talking off air that the Colts aren't just looking to win one game out of like a 3-game road trip like this. They're wanting to get all 3 of these.
Yeah, and it speaks again to their expectations coming into this season, where they're just not looking to be a little bit better than a 500 team. This is a team that believes that they can win an OHL championship, and that's been the mindset from the get-go. And it's something that Marty Williamson is kind of like the message he's passed on to his team that, hey, we don't want just 2 out of 3 weekends. We want perfect weekends. We want to finish first. I think that mindset, you see it setting in, and there's no doubt that the Windsor game was a bit disappointing, and sometimes those games happen, but importantly, the Colts get the 2 wins, the games that they had to win. They did the job there, and those are the opportunities now. But when it comes to playoffs and you play those tough teams, home ice advantage can be a big factor, and I think that's something Barrie right now is focused on, is not only sending the message that they're one of the top dogs in the OHL, but as well making sure that they get that important home ice advantage.
For sure, yeah, they're really showing at the top of the Central Division. They bumped the Niagara Ice Dogs up there. And another interesting stat you said in one of your articles is that the Colts have given up the fewest goals in the league, 60 in 22 games. The team is really creating this defensive identity, eh?
Yeah, I think, there's been a little bit of focus on maybe their offense hasn't been clicking as well as they believe it can, and But, make no mistake that I think the Barrie Colts are where they are. A lot about is about their ability to keep the puck in the net. And, obviously that starts in goal where Sam Hillebrandt and, Ben Herebeck have just been outstanding in goal. Every night they give Barrie a chance to win. They come up big time stops. And maybe when Barrie's not at its best, a game like, against Windsor where Hillebrandt gave him an opportunity by hanging in there and, making big stops early that kept him in the game. And, you look at that blue line again, it's just, it's kind of an underrated core, I think, in the OHL, but, it's arguably one of the best, if not the best, defensive core in the Ontario Hockey League. And, this team's mindset, what's really impressed me, Will, early on is their ability to really lock down things. And, that's something that they've done well.
Gene, it feels like deja vu. Colts go for another home-and-home with the Sudbury Wolves at Saddle Thursday and Sudbury Friday. Then Brantford comes to town on Saturday. Another tough 3 games in 3 nights, Gene.
Yeah, it's kind of repetitive, but, the Sudbury Wolves are playing some good hockey, and, the Brantford Bulldogs as well. And, a good test, a home-and-home with Sudbury, and obviously that Thursday game to kick off the weekend at home is one that you certainly want to get. And, for the Wolves, big blow this week losing Quentin Musty. He's going to be out quite some time from what I understand past the deadline, and he was certainly one of those players that, first-round pick, NHL pick, that they had looked to maybe trade at the deadline. But, now that comes into question, of course, with his injury and, what the return they're going to get for a guy that's going to be injured past the deadline. But, more importantly for the Wolves, he was really coming into his own since returning to the lineup this season. And, he helped Sudbury get off to a surprising start. But no doubt, Friday games in Sudbury are always tough to back-to-back nights. And these two rivals, when you play those back-to-back games, things get pretty physical. And then, of course, Barrie, busy weekend, they return home on Saturday to face a Brantford Bulldogs team that they beat in Brantford last week on Wednesday to kick off the week. And, that was an overtime win, another tough one.
There might be some revenge on the eyes of the opponents for the Colts. Till next time, Gene.
Thanks, Will.
And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Ian and Will for their input, to Matt Ladder for his technical tweaks, and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About, rate it, review it. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on Blue Sky and X at Barrie360, on our website, Barrie360.com, and there's our daily Kickstart podcast available from any streaming service and on our website. I'm Dan Blakely. Hope you'll join us again next week.